The fishermen returned to the shore with the capsule tied safely to the boat. As they approached land, people from the village gathered near the dock. Word had spread fast that Ravi and Milan had found something strange in the ocean. Families, children, old men, and curious onlookers waited with excitement. Nobody knew exactly what was inside the capsule, but everyone felt that something important had happened. When the boat touched the pier, Ravi and Milan stepped off first. They greeted the villagers and explained everything they saw inside the capsule. They described the shining drawings, the cube that created images, and the gentle message shown by the glowing hand. Some villagers listened with wide eyes, others nodded slowly, trying to understand something that felt larger than anything they had known. The capsule was lifted carefully and placed in a safe, open space near the shore. People created a wide circle around it. No one wanted to touch it without proper guidance. They respected this strange object, feeling that it held a story that belonged to everyone, not just to the fishermen who discovered it. A local official arrived along with a small team of helpers. He listened to Ravi and Milan and decided that the discovery needed experts. He made a call to a research center in the nearest city. He explained that a capsule had been found in the ocean and that it had unusual objects inside. The center promised to send a team of scientists, but they needed a few hours to reach the village. While they waited, the villagers brought chairs, water, and shade. People stayed around the capsule but kept a safe distance. Children asked questions, but their parents reminded them not to get too close. Everyone felt excitement, but there was also a deep sense of respect. Ravi placed the case containing the drawings and the cube on a clean table nearby. The villagers looked at the bright sheets with stars and planets. Many had never seen such clear pictures of the sky. Some believed the drawings were maps of distant places. Others wondered if they were messages explaining where the capsule came from. Milan stood beside the cube, watching it carefully. The cube had become silent again. It no longer glowed or hummed. It looked like a simple object with no power, yet everyone around it felt that it held something special. It had shown them a story without speaking a single word. The villagers spent time discussing where the capsule might have come from. An elderly man said that maybe it belonged to researchers who lost their equipment years ago. A younger woman suggested it might have come from a country far away, drifting across the sea. Some thought it could have come from a high-altitude mission, falling into the water after years of drifting, but many villagers believed something different. They felt that the capsule had come from a place beyond their world. The drawings of stars, the small ship shown in the glowing image, and the final picture of the hand made them think of distant worlds. They did not feel fear. The message had been peaceful. It felt like someone had traveled far to share something gentle. Ravi and Milan stood together, thinking deeply. They understood their village well. They knew how people felt about the unknown. But this discovery felt different from anything they had seen before. It did not feel like danger. It felt like a gift carried by time and water, waiting to be found at the right moment. While everyone waited for the scientists, Ravi decided to look inside the capsule again. The villagers moved aside, giving him space. Milan joined him. They opened the door, letting sunlight enter the dark interior. They wanted to search the capsule more carefully, hoping to find more clues. As Ravi stepped inside, he noticed something he had not seen earlier. On one side of the capsule was a small compartment. It had been hidden in the shadow before, but now the sunlight revealed a faint outline of a handle. He touched the handle gently. It moved without resistance. The compartment opened smoothly. Inside the compartment was a smaller box, simple and plain. The box was made of a different material from the rest of the capsule. It felt soft and warm, almost like smooth stone. Ravi held it carefully and brought it outside for everyone to see. The villagers gathered closer. Milan opened the small box slowly. Inside, they found an object that looked like a book, but it was not made of paper. The pages were thin and flexible, like the drawings, but the surface had a soft glow. Each page contained symbols arranged neatly in rows. The symbols looked organized, almost like a language, but no one could read them. Ravi turned one of the glowing pages slowly. The symbols shifted colors as the page moved. At the corner of each page, There were small designs that resembled constellations. The book looked delicate, but it seemed strong enough to survive years underwater. The fisherman wondered how such a thing could stay protected inside the capsule for so long. The villagers studied the book with great interest. An old-school teacher stepped forward and said that the symbols looked like they carried meaning. She guessed that the book might be a record of a journey, a guide, or maybe a message written by someone who wanted to communicate. Her guess made everyone even more curious. The children looked at the book with shining eyes. They asked if the symbols were stories waiting to be understood. A few adults nodded. They believed the book held something important, something that belonged to everyone on Earth. It's not only the village. Milan noticed something else inside the small box. A thin strip of material was stuck under the glowing book. He pulled it out gently. The strip was long and narrow. At first it looked blank, but when sunlight touched it, faint colored lines appeared. The lines moved softly, shifting from one shape to another. The strip reminded Milan of the images the cube had created. He held the strip up so everyone could see. The colors moved in gentle patterns, forming circles, spirals, and long paths. The shapes looked like maps of space. They showed a long route, beginning at a point marked with a bright shape and ending at a distant location marked with a smaller glow. The villagers whispered in amazement. The school teacher said it looked like a travel path. She pointed at the bright starting point and suggested that it might represent the world where the capsule had come from. The fisherman agreed. It made sense. The drawings and the glowing images had shown something similar. Ravi placed the glowing book and the moving strip back into the small box. He closed it and placed it beside the larger case. The villagers continued to talk, trying to understand the purpose of these objects. They felt that everything they had found was connected. The case, the cube, the glowing book, and the moving strip formed a message. A message from someone far away. As the sun rose higher in the sky, a group of scientists finally arrived at the village. They carried equipment and protective gloves. They greeted the villagers politely and listened carefully to the full story. Ravi and Milan explained every detail from the moment they lifted the net until the moment they opened the small box. The scientists were surprised. They examined the capsule closely. They checked its surface, its materials, and its shape. They said they had never seen anything like it. The metal did not match any known material used by space programs. The design was unique, smooth, and simple, yet advanced in small ways. When the scientists opened the case and saw the drawings, they were amazed. They studied the cube and discussed how it created light without any battery or visible power source. The glowing book and the shifting strip left them speechless. They said the technology was completely unfamiliar. But one scientist said something important. He said that everything inside the capsule carried one clear message. The map, the images, the peaceful hand, all pointed to one idea. Someone far away wanted to show kindness. Someone wanted to share a story of travel and hope. Ravi and Milan felt a warm sense of pride. They had discovered something meaningful. The villagers felt the same. They had become part of a story that stretched far beyond their small community. The capsule had been waiting under the ocean for a long time, and it had chosen simple fishermen to bring its message to the world. As the scientists prepared their tools and planned their next steps, the fishermen and villagers watched quietly. They knew the discovery would soon be shared with many more people. But no matter how far the story spread, they would always remember one thing. The message inside the capsule was peaceful, gentle, and full of light. The scientists worked through the afternoon with great care, examined the capsule again and again, taking notes, checking the surface, and studying every object the fishermen had found. The villagers watched from a distance, giving the experts enough space to do their work. The entire village felt quiet but excited. Everyone could sense that the discovery had reached a new stage. Something important was about to be understood. Ravi and Milan stood near the scientists, ready to help whenever needed. They had never seen so many tools and devices in one place. The scientists used scanners, bright lights, and delicate instruments to explore the capsule. It amazed the fishermen how calmly the experts handled everything. Even though the discovery was unusual, the scientists showed no signs of fear. They only showed curiosity and respect. One scientist named Arun seemed especially interested in the glowing book. He held it with both hands and turned each page slowly. He noticed that the glowing symbols changed slightly whenever he touched the corner of a page. The symbols rearranged themselves, forming new rows and shapes. Arun realized that the book responded to touch, almost like it could sense a reader's intention. Another scientist, a woman named Leela, studied the cube. She placed it on a clean cloth and observed it from every angle. She said the cube looked simple but carried a design that understood motion. She believed the cube was not only a projector, but also a translator. She thought the images it created were built to communicate across languages and cultures. The villagers listened to the scientists with interest. The school teacher stayed close, hoping to understand as much as she could. She asked questions politely, and the scientists answered with patience. They explained that the capsule did not seem dangerous. They said it felt like a message sent with care. In the late afternoon, the scientists decided to activate the cube again. They wanted to see if it would repeat the same images or show something new. The crowd stood in a wide circle as Arun placed the cube on a wooden table. The sunlight was still strong, but gentle enough not to interfere with the cube's glow. Arun placed his hand near the cube. He did not touch it, but he moved his fingers slowly above its surface. The cube responded in the same soft way it had responded earlier. Quiet hum filled the air, steady and calm. Cube warmed gently. The villagers leaned closer, their hearts beating with quiet excitement. The soft glow rose once more from the cube. This time, the image that appeared was not a planet or a star map. It was something new. A simple image of a round room filled the air. The room was clean and bright. At the center of the room stood a small object that looked exactly like the cube itself. Ravi and Milan exchanged surprised looks. It felt as if the cube was showing them the place where it was created. The image changed. The round room opened like a door lifting. A long hallway appeared, lined with smooth walls and gentle lights. Figures walked through the hallway. Their shapes were soft and not completely clear. They were not shown in full detail, yet they looked calm and graceful. Their hands moved gently as they guided small floating objects around the hallway. The villagers whispered in awe. Figures did not look frightening. They did not carry anything that looked harmful. They moved with quiet purpose, like people focused on careful work. Even without clear faces, their calm nature could be felt. Leela watched the images with fascination. She said that the figures seemed to be showing a piece of their world. She believed the cube was designed to share memories or lessons. She wondered, if the creators wanted others to understand their peaceful way of life. The image shifted once again. This time it showed a room filled with many glowing books. Each book rested on a stand. The light from the pages filled the room with soft colors. The figures in the image touched the books gently, studying the symbols. The villagers stared in amazement. They had never seen anything like it. Milan pointed at the glowing strip of maps they had found earlier. He told Lila that the moving colors made him think of the paths shown in the cube's images. Lila nodded. She said that the strip might be part of a much larger record, a map that connected many worlds. She said the capsule might have been a small piece of knowledge sent from a faraway place. Suddenly, the image in the air changed once more. It showed a wide view of the sky from the perspective of the figures. There were stars arranged in long arcs. A soft path of light stretched across the sky, showing a journey. Then, slowly, a new planet came into view. It was Earth. The villagers gasped softly. For the first time, they understood that the journey shown earlier was not an accident. The capsule had come from a place that wanted to reach Earth. The message was not only about a peaceful greeting, it was about connection. The image held Earth in the center for several seconds. Then, a gentle light shaped like a hand appeared again. This time, it reached toward Earth with even more clarity and warmth. The villagers felt the meaning deeply. It was a gesture of friendship. The cube's glow dimmed slowly. The humming sound faded. Within moments, the room returned to normal sound. Birds chirped nearby. Waves rolled gently onto the shore. The village returned to its simple rhythm. But the hearts of the people were filled with something new. The scientists looked at each other. They seemed thoughtful, almost emotional. Arun placed the cube back into the case, explained that the message had become clearer, said the creators of the capsule had wanted Earth to know that they existed. They wanted to share peace, knowledge, and connection. The villagers talked among themselves quietly. Some said they felt honored, others said they felt humbled. Ravi and Milan stood in silence for a moment, letting everything settle in their minds. They had never imagined their simple fishing trip would lead to something so meaningful. As the sun began to set, the scientists asked the villagers if they could stay a little longer. They wanted to examine the capsule under softer light. Villagers agreed and brought lanterns and soft lamps. The scientists continued their work, studying the materials and the structure of the capsule. During their work, something unexpected happened. Arun noticed a small light glowing inside the capsule. It was faint but steady. He told everyone to stay calm. He leaned inside with a careful hand and touched a small panel. The panel opened with a soft sound. Inside was a round, crystal-like object. It glowed with a gentle brightness. The light was warm, similar to the glow of the cube. Arun held the object with both hands. The surface felt smooth. The villagers gathered around, curious once again. The crystal lit up brighter in Arun's hands. Small shapes began to form inside it. They looked like tiny stars moving around each other. The light grew stronger, but stayed calm. Then, a simple image appeared inside the crystal. A shape that looked like a plant growing from the ground. A small leaf rose upward. It was a symbol of life and growth. The villagers understood without needing words. It was another peaceful message, Arun said, that the crystal might be a memory seed. He explained that some cultures use such objects to store important ideas. The idea inside this crystal was simple. Life should grow. Peace should grow. Connection should grow. The villagers felt touched. Even the children understood it. It was a simple message from a distant place, yet it felt familiar and warm. By nightfall, scientists finished their initial study. They decided the capsule must be taken to the research center for deeper understanding. The villagers agreed, but asked for one promise. They wanted to know everything that would be discovered, and wanted to stay connected to the story that began in their own sea. The scientists promised. They said the village would always be part of the discovery. They said Ravi and Milan would be invited to every important meeting about the capsule. When the village lights dimmed and the sea turned calm again, Ravi and Milan walked home slowly. The night sky above them sparkled with stars. Ravi looked up and wondered if the figures from the cube's images were looking at the same stars from their world. Milan wondered if someday Earth would understand the message completely. They did. Not know what tomorrow would bring, but they knew one thing clearly. They had become part of a story that belonged to the whole world. And now, the next part of the story was ready to unfold. The sun rose slowly over the wide blue ocean, painting the sky with shades of orange and soft gold. The day felt calm, and the waves moved gently, as if they were greeting the morning. Out on the water, a small fishing boat rocked with the rhythm of the sea. The boat belonged to two fishermen named Ravi and Milan, who had worked side by side for many years. Both of them were used to early mornings, long hours, and the peaceful sound of the sea that most people never heard. Ravi stood at the front of the boat, adjusting the nets with careful hands. He enjoyed this part of the day when the light was soft and the air was fresh. Milan sat near the engine, checking the ropes and the spare tools. He liked to make sure everything on the boat was in good shape before they began their work. It was their routine, simple and steady, and it had never given them any trouble. The two men had been going out to the ocean since they were young. They had learned everything from older fishermen, from reading the weather to knowing where fish would swim on different days. Their boat was not big, but it was sturdy and strong. It carried their hopes and their hard work every single day. Fishing was not just their job, it was their life. That morning felt like any other morning. The sky was clear, the breeze was soft, and the sea seemed calm. Birds flew above the water, calling out as they searched for their own meals. Everything about the day felt normal, and both Ravi and Milan expected nothing unusual. They planned to catch enough fish to sell at the market, buy some supplies, and then head home before evening. But the sea had a surprise waiting for them after casting their nets into the water. Ravi and Milan waited a while before pulling them up. They talked quietly about the market prices, the boat repairs they needed to do next week. and a festival that was coming soon in their village. Everything felt peaceful, and they believed the day would go smoothly. When it was time to lift the nets, Ravi wrapped his hands around the thick rope and began pulling. He expected the familiar tug of fish caught in the mesh, but something felt different. The net felt heavier than usual, and the weight did not shift like fish moving. It felt solid, firm, unmoving. He frowned and called out to Milan. Milan walked over and grabbed the rope too. Together, they pulled with steady strength. Both men looked confused. The weight in the net felt too heavy for fish, but also too smooth to be a log or broken piece of a boat. It was something large, something unexpected. As the net started rising above the water, Ravi leaned forward to get a better look. When the object finally appeared, he froze. Milan stopped as well and stared with wide eyes. The object inside the net was curved, metallic, and round. It looked nothing like any sea debris they had ever found. They pulled it higher until it rested on the edge of the boat. Both men stepped back to take in the full sight of it. The object was a capsule, about the size of a small car. Its surface was worn and covered in patches of rust, as if it had been under the ocean for many years. The metal looked old but strong. There were marks on it that resembled letters or numbers, but most were washed away by time. Ravi slowly walked around the capsule, keeping a safe distance. He did not feel scared, but he felt something he could not explain. It was not danger, and it was not fear. It was wonder. It was the feeling someone gets when they discover something important without. Planning to find it, Milan crouched to inspect the bottom part where the net had wrapped tightly. His fingers ran across the metal surface. It felt cold, even in the warm morning light. He noticed a small round window on one side of the capsule, but the inside was too dark to see through. The glass was fogged and scratched. Both men looked at each other, trying to make sense of what they had pulled from the sea. They had found many strange things over the years. Wooden boxes, broken tools, pieces of boats, even old coins, but never something like this. The capsule did not look like it belonged to any fishing vessel or ship. It looked like it came from somewhere far beyond. Ravi finally spoke, his voice low and steady. He said that the capsule seemed to advance to be a simple machine from the past. He pointed at the shape and the design. Everything about it seemed purposeful, crafted with care. It reminded him of something he once saw in an old magazine about space missions. The curved shape, the sealed door, the small window, it all seemed familiar in a distant way. Milan listened carefully. He remembered reading about old space missions too. He recalled how scientists sent capsules into space many years ago. Some were meant to return to Earth, and some were lost during their journeys. He wondered if this could be one of them. He wondered how something like that could end up at the bottom of the ocean. But he also knew that neither of them were experts. They were fishermen, simple men with simple lives. They were not trained to understand strange objects like this. Still, they could not ignore what they had found. They needed to call others for help. Ravi picked up his phone and contacted a nearby fishing boat. He explained that they found something unusual and asked them to come over. The sea was calm and the other boat reached them quickly. When the second group of fishermen saw the capsule, they were just as surprised. More boats arrived as the news spread from boat to boat. Soon, a small group of fishermen circled Ravi and Milan's boat. Everyone spoke softly, as if raising their voices would disturb the capsule. Some discussed whether it belonged to an old research mission. Others wondered if it drifted from a faraway country. No one truly knew. One fisherman asked if they should open it, but most agreed it was better to wait. The capsule had been sealed for a long time. It would be wiser to wait for people who understood such things. Yet curiosity kept pulling their eyes back to the object. There was something mysterious about it, something that made each person feel like they were standing in front of a forgotten story. While they waited, Ravi examined the surface again. He noticed a small latch near the side of the capsule. It was hidden under a layer of sea salt and rust. He wiped the surface with a cloth and revealed a simple metal switch. He did not touch it, but he pointed it out to Milan. Milan bent down and studied it. The latch did not look dangerous. It did not look like a lock either. It looked like something meant to be pressed by hand. He wondered if it was safe. He wondered if pressing it would open the capsule. But he did not want to act without thinking. He stood up and walked back to the group. He told everyone about the latch. The fishermen debated for a few minutes. Some said it could be a simple release switch. Others said it might be some kind of protective mechanism. Ravi stood quietly, thinking carefully. He had a strong feeling that the capsule had been floating in the sea for many years. If anything harmful had been inside, time and water would have already damaged it. Still, he wanted to act responsibly. After a moment, he approached the capsule again. Milan joined him. The other fishermen watched with full attention. Ravi reached out and very lightly touched the latch. It did not move. He applied a little more pressure, just enough to test it. Suddenly, the latch made a soft click. Everyone took a step back. The boat became silent. The sea moved gently as if waiting. The door of the capsule shifted slightly. A small line of light appeared along its edge. The capsule had unlocked itself. The moment felt unreal, as if the sea had allowed a secret to rise into the world. The door opened slowly with a long creak. Inside, everything was dark at first. Then the sunlight reached inside and revealed the interior. The fisherman leaned forward, trying to see clearly. Inside the capsule lay something unexpected. It was not frightening. It was not dangerous. It was something that made the entire group lean in even closer, eager to understand what they had brought out from the heart of the ocean. The news of the strange capsule spread across the country faster than anyone expected. The story of the fishermen reached busy cities, quiet villages, schools, research centers, and even people living abroad who rarely paid attention to anything related to the sea. What started as a normal day on the water had turned into something that touched many hearts. People were amazed not because the capsule looked old or mysterious, but because of the message inside it. The gentle hand shown by the glowing cube had become a symbol of hope. Ravi and Milan were surprised by the attention. They were simple men who lived peaceful lives near the coast. They enjoyed their work and were not used to cameras, microphones, or reporters asking questions. In the first few days, many people came to their village to meet them. Some wanted to take pictures. Others wanted to ask how they felt. Some simply wanted to see the capsule with their own eyes. Even though it had already been moved to a safe building for research, despite all the attention, Ravi and Milan stayed humble. They still woke up early in the morning. They still helped neighbors when needed. They still sat by the shore in the evening to drink tea, talk, and think about the bright images they had seen from the cube. Their lives had changed. Their hearts stayed the same. Scientists from different places worked day and night to understand the capsule. They collected every detail they could. They studied the drawings carefully. They examined the small cube with special tools that could detect tiny signals or patterns. They checked the metal of the capsule and compared it with metals used on Earth. The more they investigated, the clearer it became that the capsule did not come from any known human space mission. It was too old, too different, and too advanced in some ways. One scientist named Dr. Armand spent many hours watching the recorded footage of the cube's light images. He slowed down each frame and studied every symbol. One night, after many days of studying, he shared his thoughts with the rest of the research team. He said that the drawings did not just show a travel route. They also showed something deeper. The images of stars and planets formed a pattern that looked like a map, but not a map meant for traveling. Instead, it looked like a map meant for storytelling, like someone trying to explain their journey to people living on a new world. The researchers believed that the traveler who made these drawings wanted to leave a message for whoever found the capsule. This message was not about danger or fear. It was about connection, curiosity, and trust. The travelers seemed to believe that the people of the world where the capsule would land would see the message with open hearts. Back in the village, people talked about the capsule every day. Children played games pretending to be space travelers. Teachers used the story in class to talk about courage and hope. Some elders said that the sea had always kept secrets, and this was just one of them waiting to be found by the right people. One afternoon, Ravi walked by the shore alone. The sea breeze was gentle, and the sky above the water was clear. He remembered the moment when the capsule first came up in their net. He remembered how heavy it felt, not just in weight, but in meaning. He felt grateful that he and Milan had decided to open it carefully rather than throw it back or leave it untouched. Something inside him told him that finding the capsule was not an accident. It had come to them for a reason. Milan joined him a few minutes later. They talked about how their lives had changed. Milan said that he sometimes worried that people expected them to know more than they actually did. They were fishermen, not explorers or scientists. But Ravi told him not to worry. He said that they did what they were meant to do. They found the capsule, they opened it with respect, and they shared it with others who could understand it better. That was enough. Meanwhile, the research center continued to study the glowing cube. One morning, something surprising happened. The cube lit up again, even though no one touched it. The soft glow filled the room and created a warm feeling for everyone who stood nearby. The researchers stopped what they were doing and watched. This time, the cube did not show a long story. Instead, it showed a single bright image. It showed a small circle with a tiny light inside it. The light grew slowly, becoming brighter and wider, until it filled the whole space above the cube. Then the light divided into 2 lights, then into 3, then into many. They spread gently, like seeds carried by wind, moving outward from the center. The researchers felt as if the cube was telling them something important. The message did not need words. Dr. Armand later explained his interpretation. He believed the image meant that knowledge spreads like light and hope spreads like seeds. When someone reaches out with sincerity, others will respond. The traveler who sent the capsule wanted to show that kindness could inspire more kindness. Just like light can fill a dark room, the research team recorded the light show, and the video spread online quickly. People around the world watched it and felt something warm inside them. Even though no one fully understood the meaning, everyone agreed that the message was peaceful. It did not carry fear. It carried encouragement. Days passed, then weeks. People moved on with their daily lives, but the effect of the discovery stayed. Many people said the world felt a little more connected now. Many felt curious about the possibility of distant worlds and gentle travelers. Many felt inspired to learn more about the universe. The government built a small museum near the coast, close to the fishermen's village. They placed the capsule inside the museum with a clear description of how it was found and what was inside it. The museum was simple and calm, designed to help visitors feel peaceful as they learned the story. Ravi and Milan were given free access, but they rarely went inside. They felt the true meaning of the capsule was already in their hearts. One day, the museum held a small ceremony. Students, teachers, villagers, and scientists gathered to celebrate the hope that the capsule had brought. At the end of the ceremony, one student asked Ravi a question. The student asked if he ever felt afraid when he first saw the capsule. Ravi smiled and said no. He said he felt surprised, but not afraid. Something about the capsule felt quiet and gentle, like it wanted to be found. He told the student that sometimes life brings unexpected gifts. These gifts might look strange or unusual at first, but they can carry good meaning if we open our hearts and look carefully. After the ceremony, Ravi and Milan returned to their boat and pushed off into the sea once again. They both felt calm. The sea was the same, yet everything felt different. The world felt wider than before, filled with possibilities they had never imagined as they sailed across the quiet water. "Aye!" Milan said something that stayed with Ravi for a long time. Milan said that maybe the capsule was not the end of a story. Maybe it was the beginning of one. Maybe someone far away once reached out to Earth, and now Earth had a chance to reach back one day. The idea made Ravi smile. It was simple, gentle, and full of hope. Just like the message in the cube, the fishermen continued their journey across the sea, carrying the memory of their discovery with them like a small light shining inside their hearts. And somewhere across the vast universe, perhaps on a distant world with a blue sky or a soft golden horizon, a traveler's story lived on, reminding both worlds that kindness and curiosity can connect even the farthest places. The door of the capsule stood partly open, and the soft morning light filled its dark interior. The fishermen leaned closer, but kept a respectful distance. They felt curious, excited, and unsure all at the same time. Ravi and Milan were at the front of the group, standing side by side, trying to see what secrets the capsule held. Inside, the space was small and round. The walls were lined with a faded silver material that looked smooth even after years under the sea. The air inside smelled old, like a room that had been closed for a long time. There were no seats or machines visible at first glance, only a dim surface that reflected a little light. Ravi took a slow step closer and noticed something lying in the center of the capsule. It was not large, but it was placed with purpose. He bent down slightly, and the object became clearer. It was a rectangular case, carefully strapped to the floor with soft, worn belts. The case looked untouched by the long years underwater. The strong belts had protected it with surprising care. Milan joined him and studied the case. The top surface had symbols on it, clearly designed by someone, but not in any language they understood. The symbols looked like small shapes placed in neat lines, maybe instructions or a name. The fishermen around them whispered among themselves, wondering what it could mean. One of the older fishermen suggested that they should remove the case gently, not force anything. He said that many old objects can break easily if handled the wrong way. Ravi agreed. He reached inside slowly and touched the strap. It was soft and flexible, not brittle. He opened the strap and lifted the case with both hands. The weight of the case surprised him. It was light, almost too light for its size. As he carried it out of the capsule, the group made space around him. They placed the case on the deck of the boat. Everyone formed a loose circle, watching it as if it might reveal something on its own. A young fisherman asked if they should open it. Another replied that they must be careful because they had no idea what was inside. Milan said that the case looked like it was meant to be opened by hand. There were no locks, only a simple latch. It was clear that whoever designed it wanted someone to open it someday, with steady hands. Ravi pressed the latch and lifted the lid. The top opened smoothly, with no resistance. Inside, the fishermen saw something unexpected. There were sheets of smooth material, almost like paper, but not exactly paper. The sheets were thin, flexible, and bright. Each one had drawings on it, carefully made with clean lines. The drawings were beautiful. They showed stars, circles, and paths in a neat pattern. Some sheets showed groups of stars connected by soft lines. Others showed planets with arrows pointing across long stretches. Ravi held one sheet up toward the light. The symbols were simple, made with care and clarity. Anyone could tell that the person who drew them was patient and gentle. Next to the drawings lay a small object shaped like a cube. The cube was the size of a child's toy block. Its surface was smooth, with no buttons or switches. It had a simple pattern on the top, like a star shape pressed into the material. Milan picked the cube up carefully. It felt warm to the touch, as if it had a gentle energy inside. The fishermen stared in amazement. They could not understand how the cube could feel warm after spending years in the cold sea. It confused them, but also made them more curious. Milan held the cube in both hands and turned it slowly. The more he looked at it, the more he felt that it was not just decoration. It felt like the cube wanted to do something. While everyone watched, the cube made a soft sound. It was not loud or alarming. It sounded like a quiet hum, steady and calm. Ravi's eyes widened. He took a step back without meaning to. The fishermen whispered quickly to each other. No one had touched a button, yet the cube had activated itself. A moment later, a soft glow appeared above the cube. The fishermen gasped. The light rose in a gentle shape, like a small cloud, then formed clear images that floated quietly in the air. The light did not flash. It did not shine harshly. It was warm and peaceful, like sunlight in the early morning. The first image showed a round planet. It was blue and green, with soft white shapes across it. The fishermen could not tell if it was Earth or another world. The picture looked real, not drawn. The image turned slowly, showing oceans, land, and shining rivers. Then the image changed. It showed a small ship leaving the planet. The ship looked like the capsule they had found. The fishermen leaned closer, trying to understand. The ship in the picture traveled through dark space, passing stars and shining paths. The picture moved slowly so everyone could follow its journey. In the next image, the ship experienced some kind of trouble. The surface of the picture changed to show a dark cloud around the ship. It tilted to one side as if something pushed it off course. Ravi and Milan looked at each other, confused but fascinated. They understood that the ship had not planned to come toward Earth. Something made it change. Direction the image continued to move. It showed the ship traveling for a long time. Stars drifted by in slow patterns. The fisherman felt the passage of time through the image. It was clear that the journey was long and lonely. Then the final image appeared. A simple shape, calm and clear. A hand reaching outward. Not a danger sign. Not a warning. Just a friendly gesture. A quiet invitation. The fishermen stared at the image, feeling something gentle and warm inside their hearts. They did not need words to understand what it meant. The message was simple. Someone wanted peace and connection. After a few moments, the image faded. The glow slowly dimmed until the cube looked like a normal object again. The humming sound stopped and the warmth softened. The fishermen felt as if they had just experienced something rare and important. The sea around them was quiet. Even the waves seemed slower than before. Ravi placed the drawings back into the case gently. He closed the lid and set it aside. The fishermen talked quietly, trying to understand everything they saw. Some wondered if the capsule belonged to a forgotten space mission. Others said it must have come from far beyond the sky. No one had a clear answer. What they did know was simple. They had uncovered something that did not belong to their world. Something that carried a peaceful message. Something that wanted to be discovered at the right time. Milan closed the capsule door carefully. The fishermen agreed that experts needed to examine everything. They felt that the capsule was too important to leave in the open. It was not just metal and drawings. It was a story from a far place, waiting to be understood by the world. As the boats began to move toward shore, Ravi looked at the sky. The morning sun was rising higher, shining across the water. He felt the weight of the discovery settle gently in his heart. He understood that life would not be the same after this day. Something greater had touched their small world. The sea had given them a mystery, and they had accepted it with respect and wonder. The next chapters of the story were waiting, and the fishermen were ready to face whatever came next.